Underrated, underrated, underrated success. Underrated, underrated, underrated success. Underrated, underrated success.
All right, this is PJ Young. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Underrated Success. To my right, I got my man Rufus J. Faulk. Excuse me, Dr. Rufus.
I was gonna say you can't leave off the doctor.
No,
You
brother.
know me for 20 years. You can't leave off the doctor.
No, brother. So, I was driving in today. We talked a little bit about it before. But my radio in my car has been off for 4 months. I have a job, so there's no reason why I shouldn't have it fixed, right?
Yep.
So I'm driving in and just random songs. I got 38 years of music in my head.
Yeah.
You know what comes to mind?
What?
Saturday morning cleaning time.
Okay.
So, my mom and dad broke up at this time. All I can hear is my mom's, I'm going down, baby.
All types of Mary J.
Oh, she was on Mary J cleaning, sweeping. My mom would cook breakfast
Yep.
and then go back to sleep. And then wake up and be on a rant page. Who's got the bathroom? So that's what I drove in here today.
Yeah.
What did
Listening to Mary J. That's what you drove
what's
into?
in my mind?
Okay.
Because my radio's broke.
Yep.
What song, the last song you got at your car, what was it?
The last song, so what I was just listening to was the Purple Tape, and it was Criminology, Raekwon. Purple Tape, to this day, just the imagery of a purple tape when it first came out was crazy. But just the songs just bring me back to 90s, growing up in Boston, growing up in Roxbury, man. It wasn't a better time,
Do you think that's the best era of music?
Absolutely.
Why?
90s R&B and 90s rap is my favorite, but I think it's the best.
Shimmy, shimmy, yo,
all
shimmy,
that.
yeah, shimmy, yeah.
But, and you had every kind. So if you was a street dude, you had street music. If you was a eclectic, you had Tribe and De La. If you was gang banging, you had West Coast. You know what I'm saying? If you was an R&B thug like myself, you had, what I'm saying? You had
Jaheim in it?
No, that's before Jaheim. I was listening to Bobby Brown talking about tenderonis and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So there was a little bit of there was variation. I think we don't have that now. There's music for everybody. But in the
Bobby
90s,
Brown's from Boston.
He's from Roxbury, to be specific.
Roxbury to be specific.
You see the hoodie, brother?
I see the hoodie.
There you go, Roxbury University.
Okay.
It's Olive. That's all right.
I wish I would. My mother lived in Roxbury.
That's why she's who she is.
Yeah, it's Mary J, baby. So let me ask you a question. Let's get right into it.
Yeah.
For one, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Appreciate your time.
Proud of you, man.
And no, I'm proud of you, Mr. Temple, Mr. BU.
Okay.
Mr. Northeastern.
All right.
Am I there?
You were doing your Googles,
Hey,
cuz.
man,
All right.
Google
You
it
doing
up,
your
baby.
Googles. All right.
But we'll get to that a little later.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you this question I usually ask all guests that come on. The first question, what does success look like to you?
Success to me looks like waking up and being excited for the day. I think success to me is like seeing a smile on my daughter's face. I think it's less about achievement and more about how you feel, because I used to place it around achievements, and when I achieved them, I wasn't happy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's really about like how you wake up, how you feel about yourself, and are you feeling like you're actually making an impact and making a difference. So that's what success means to me. It's less about what you have, more about how you feel.
So it's like that New Year's resolution. I feel like a lot of people achieve that goal of fitting in the bathing suit or that dress for the wedding, or getting to the gym. And once they reach that goal,
What do you do next?
they go right back to the next year. This new year, new me thing has to stop.
Because you always hear it like, so why wait till January 1st?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or why, like, I have these little arbitrary dates or arbitrary time. Like, that's what I did, too, when I was a kid. Like, I was thinking, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to have this, that, and the third. Then when I hit 30 and I didn't have it, I was like, I felt like I was underachieving, you know what I'm saying? Versus recognizing that, like Nip said, life is really like a marathon. It's not about when you do it, it's about just whether or not you achieve it or not. So I was attaching years and ages to sort of achievements and goals versus just trying to achieve the goal.
So Roxbury, Mass.
Absolutely. 02119.
Talk about high school, elementary, junior high. Because when we went to school, there was a junior high.
Yeah, absolutely.
The 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah,
now they kind of merge everything together. You know? So talk about who showed you the way, because a lot of the youth now, I guarantee you can't tie a tie. or they may not have someone that's shown them. So who is
Yeah.
that person for you? I had mom and dad to
Yeah.
a certain age. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I understand my situation not unique anymore. You know, a lot of families go through that breakup.
Yeah.
So talk about a little bit your upbringing, and then we'll go into high school, college success.
Okay, so the people who showed me the way were my mother and my father. My father is the 7th of 15. My mother's the youngest of 5. Mother's from Mission Hill. Father's from Cathedral. They met in high school. Been together since 10th grade. You know what I'm saying? They got married. This is, how old am I? 38. So this next year is gonna be their 39th wedding anniversary.
Wow, that's a blessing.
They were 17, 18 when they had me, so they've been together since they were kids. You know what I'm saying?
Why do you think that is? Not to cut you. Why do you think that love back in the day is different than love now?
That's a hell of a question. If I knew that, I'd be selling it in a box, man, making millions. But it's just different times. So even in their circumstance, so we often talk about how growing up in a single parent home might impact the child and their sort of perspective and sort of how they view love.
Right.
But we rarely talk about how growing up in a 2-parent home can also impact how you view it too. Because my case was that if it didn't look like my parents,
Yes.
I didn't think it wasn't real.
Right.
Or if she didn't remind me of my mother, she couldn't have been the one. You know what I'm saying? So that was subconscious stuff, but that was some of the things that impacted me. But I don't know why that 39 years their type of love might not be as present today, but I think it just comes with work and whether or not you're willing to do so. But I think also our generation, we got a lot of options too, which is a part of the problem. There's too much stuff that's accessible. So
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying, if you scrolling on IG every day, how you ever gonna be satisfied? Because you got all this sort of fantasy.
Right.
Too busy looking at fantasy.
So back in that era, the cell phones wasn't really prominent back then. If you had a
Payphone.
cell phone,
Yeah.
the payphone was huge, a quarter.
Yeah.
But they really didn't have cell phones. If you had a cell phone, you were well off. You know, wealthy.
You were living a different life.
You was
Yes.
living a different life. So do you feel that is impacted the way the youth is, or just how relationships are going because of cell phone? Everybody is kind of head down the cell phone, just like you said. They're looking for something, a new fantasy.
Yeah, I think it's sort of increased just accessibility. And accessibility is a good and bad thing. So I'm never gonna be one to shun technology because
Right.
those advancements have helped us.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, there's a pro and con to everything. So with all these advancements, you get Snapchat, you get the Tinder, you get all this other stuff that folks are on. So the moment they're not happy or a thing doesn't feel as smooth in a relationship, they just say, I'll just go on to the next one because I have another option.
Right.
So I think folks back in the day were probably more sort of willing to fight through stuff. And also, I think our view of what marriage is different. Like they viewed marriage as something that was like a lifesaver, something that was, and like you needed that in order to survive. Like you think about 60s, 70s, especially as black folks, like it'd be hard to fight in this system by yourself.
Right.
So folks were coming together like, yo, we needed, in order for us to survive this system, we got to come together.
Absolutely.
Now folks aren't taking it as such. They sort of just want to get married for the IG photo.
So Rufus,
That's my name.
Where'd you get that name from, brother?
My father. My father's name's Rufus, and my great-grandfather's name is Rufus.
Rufus is like, here comes
Southern
Rufus.
Virginia.
Is that bully Rufus?
Oh no, but imagine being 7 with a name like Rufus.
Ooh.
So you like 7 years old. You feel like you got like a real Southern name, but
Yeah.
you're 7 and you young. You like, I used to hate my name. Like, I hate this name. But by the time I was like 10, 11, I grew into it. Like,
It's
no,
unique,
I knew I was gonna be the only one.
Right.
But I also knew that where it came from, which is important too. Like kids don't know where they come from, so how do you sort of take ownership of something?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you go to North Cambridge Catholic? Is that the school you went to?
Yeah, that's where I graduated from. I started at Latin Academy, and then they tried to keep me back for failing Latin.
So now Latin Academy is in Roxbury?
Yeah.
Now, is that an exam school? Did
Yeah.
you have to take a test? Because my mother actually went there.
She went to Tech?
Yeah.
My parents went to Tech. She
Yeah.
probably she has to know my
I'm
parents.
sure she does. Boston's is a small community.
1 degree of separation.
So you took the exam, got into Latin, and then you transferred. You said you failed out?
They was saying, no, I could have stayed in the school, but they were going to say I had to repeat the 9th grade, and I wasn't about to do that.
So you face adversity at a young age.
Of course.
Because a lot of the youth, that would have drove them on a different path. So what kept you on the straight and narrow? Or I'm sure you had some opportunities to go that other side. What kept you? Was it family? Was it friends? Or was it just your mind saying, I want better for me?
So Roxbury at that time, and
It was a rough time.
It's still and still to this day, it's like gang culture is very addictive in the inner cities, particularly in Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan. So regardless of how deep you are into it, if you're not directly involved in it, your friends are involved in it. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, at that time, I was dabbling in it, playing around with it, just going around. Got arrested, just getting into a whole bunch of other stuff. So, but one thing I recognized is that I had something that a lot of my friends didn't have. I did have a mother and a father in the crib, and I knew nobody really has an excuse to be in the streets. I definitely didn't have an excuse to be in the streets. So that's when I sort of, and mind you, everything sort of was all culminating. I'm about to get kept back. I got arrested the first time that summer. I'm like, I felt myself going down a path that it wasn't for me.
Right.
So during that time, I was trying to find another school. I'm like, I'm not going to the Burke. No disrespect to the Burke. I got to find another option. So I ended up connecting with a good friend of ours, Russ, who was going to North Cambridge Catholic at the time. I'm like, I got to find another school. So I ended up setting up going through the process, filled out the application. Everything was good till they said, yo, we had to come in for an interview with your parents. So I had already switched schools without even telling my parents.
Wow.
So I had to go through the interview. So I told them like 2 days before, like, situation, I'm about to get kept back in Loudoun County, but I got another option.
They supported that.
Because the crazy part, my father went through the same thing. My father was going to the Burke, wasn't liking it, took the test, signed himself out the Burke to go to Tech.
Wow.
So he respected it. You know what I'm saying? He respected that. I didn't just sit on my hands and say, woe was me. I said, no, I'm going to find another option.
Yeah.
So that was really the start of me sort of taking academics seriously and saying, okay, this is my route sort of to find a way for myself. So that was like the start of it. But yeah, man, the streets, like I had a lot of friends who, again, didn't have access to the opportunities that I had.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was, I felt like I was doing everybody a disservice if I was playing with something that I really didn't have no business playing with.
And you're really a humble dude, man. You know, you wouldn't think all of that happened if you wasn't around. You know what I'm saying? Getting involved or running around with this set of friends. And I've lost a lot of people in my life, and I'm sure that you have. So how do you just, I guess, pay homage to the people that you've lost over the years? Because even though we're 38, there's been a lot of life lost, and that kind of deters you away from certain, you know.
Yeah, it's tough, yo. It's like survivor's guilt is real. Survivor's remorse is real, where you sort of take on, I know personally, I know I had a lot of friends who ain't make it to 21, 18, let alone have a kid, go away to school. So I knew that I was doing something not only for myself, but for them as well.
Right.
So I took it as motivation to say, okay, my homie didn't get a chance to be here. Let me be here, and I'm gonna make sure I bring him with me. So I use it as motivation, but I also, regardless of whatever achievements I make or quote unquote stature I might have, I try to remain accessible and tangible.
Yes.
And so the kids coming up after us don't think, oh, when you get it, then you move away, you know, they don't see you again. No, you got to still be tangible to them. They got so they can see that, no, there is a level of quote unquote success that can happen in our neighborhood, from our neighborhood, and here's a way in which you can do it, and here's somebody who actually did it who I can touch and talk to.
Right. So you overcame adversity at an early age as far as high school. Now let's fast forward, because we're not going to talk about any sports, because, you know, Rufus is the one that's always on the sideline.
I used to be a basketball player, fam.
So I remember this story. I'll tell this quick story. We was at Washington Park. Rufus talking crazy on the sideline, yelling, "Fam, I'll dunk on you. I'll do this. You know what? If my knees weren't bad, you know, I'll be doing this."
Bad.
So all of a sudden, we're in between, because a lot in Washington Park, there was a lot of tournaments at that point in time. Now it's kind of slowed down a little bit. But they had the chicken truck.
Okay.
So you went to go, I shouldn't say chicken, food truck.
There you go.
So
no,
you went
it was
to
a chicken truck.
Yeah,
it was.
It
It's a chicken truck.
So we went, you got a whole thing of chicken.
Yeah.
And it was like when seagulls and pigeons, everything flocked to your chicken. And this is the first time I seen you get like an attitude. You like, man, I just got this chicken and everybody want a piece of my chicken. They didn't want the chicken. They want the one with the hot sauce on it. And you were like, man, go ahead, man. Don't ask me for another piece. And I was like, Rufus is mad because I understand that when everybody just wanted that chicken. But so we'll get away from that because we know he ain't play ball. So
That's terrible.
and then in between halftime, he want to shoot jumpers.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm still gonna shoot jumpers.
Yeah.
I still might go upstairs still. Still.
It never changed.
One knee.
So we'll fast forward now.
Yep.
Where so you got your stuff together as far as high school. Now we're in college. How did you pick Temple to be the school that you want to pursue education?
So I was always gonna go to Hampton.
Yep.
My family from VA. I said, yeah, I'm gonna go there, man. But I applied to, I think I applied to like 8 schools. I got into all 8.
Which tell me the schools.
Shoot, you know, give me.
I know it's
It was Hampton, Temple, St. John's, Howard, Virginia State, and 3 others.
The only reason I asked was to see where your mentor was as far as picking schools. So you're
I
up
didn't
here.
pick any schools in Massachusetts. I didn't pick any schools in Connecticut. I said I'm out of here.
So let me ask you. I'm pushed
It
back.
was a mixture of HBCUs and PWIs.
I'm pushed back just a little bit.
Yeah.
So early in the conversation, you said you want to be reachable, right? So what part of you wanted to get away to come back and be your home? You know what I'm saying?
I knew I had to get out because I had to see more. I knew if I had stayed local, I would have found myself getting caught up in this stuff.
Right.
Because I was still, even though I was on that path, I'm still viewed as like a go-to person. So that wouldn't have changed if I was still here. And I wanted to see some other things. And the schools I picked were schools that, so Temple was a school that I always thought about. Big fan of college basketball, John Chaney, back when they had Aaron McKee, Eddie Jones. Even on the Cosby Show, there was always like that tea in his office. So I was always fat. My grandmother's from North Philadelphia, so I used to see the school a lot. So that was always a school that I was interested in. But I knew that I wanted to go away because it was going to be important. But I knew that I had a duty to come back because I pulled so much out of the city. I had to pour back in some way. So
And the funny part is, I actually was getting recruited by Temple, but I didn't have. I had support, but I was kind of rebellious to get the support. So I didn't take my SATs. I had people in my corner. You need to take your SATs. I'm like, you know what? I'll take them. I'll take them. I didn't take them. Temple was like, up. See you later. We'll go recruit this other dude. So we would have been at Temple together if I just had.
I almost didn't finish, so I don't know. You'd have been in bad shape with me, cause you'd have been blaming me like, yo, you see messing with this dude, man. I ain't finished.
So talk about your first year at college. I feel like that's the roughest year.
Yeah.
And seniors tough too because you're going out to the next.
Nah,
stage
by the time I was at the end, I had already had the system down.
Yeah.
But when I first got there, I was talking about it before with somebody else. We always tell kids we want them to go to college, but never tell them that how they can stay in college.
Right.
We never talk about that or how difficult it is to be on your own. So for me, I brought Roxbury with me to North Philadelphia.
Ooh. Which Roxbury did you bring?
I brought the Roxbury that Roxbury, chicken truck Roxbury. I brought that with me at a institution of higher learning.
And it doesn't mix.
And it doesn't mix. So it's crazy. I talked to a lot of sort of folks I went to school with, in particular, like the girls. We just talk like we just talking about our times at school. They were like, yo, you used to always look like you were so mad all the time. Like, you looked so mean that nobody I said, really? But then I'm thinking, like, that was the mask that I wore to survive walking around in Roxbury. Like, you can't you can't be a smiling kid with freckles just walking around. You're going to look like you sweet.
So you brought Bobby Brown to Temple.
I brought Bobby Brown mentality to Temple. So for that first year, I was getting into a bunch of stuff. So my first semester, I did really well. A's and B's, got 1 C in a class that I didn't really care much about. But then after that, like that second semester, I was partying, getting into fights, doing way too much, running around, staying up late. Like, I was to the point where by the time I got to my sophomore year, I couldn't stay on campus. I was supposed to be a RA, but because I got into a situation, I lost that opportunity, had to live off campus. Was on academic probation, so it was tough.
And RAs get paid too.
Man, I was gonna have free room and board,
your own
food, my own spot, and I squandered it away because I was still trying to bring a mentality that I had no business.
So how'd you recover?
It's one of those. It's one of the moments, yo.
Yeah.
Like I've had 2 moments where it was like, yo, what the hell are you doing, yo?
Yeah.
And I was so sitting in a Philadelphia holding cell
Cold in there.
for 32 hours.
Hey, lonely in there.
Cold, lonely, but you're in a holding cell. It's probably about 12 cells total. And you don't see anybody, but you hear everybody.
Yeah.
And you hearing I'm like, what the hell are you doing, yo?
Yeah.
And I'm hearing stories like, yo, you doing too much, man. Being in that holding cell, finally being in front of a virtual screen in front of the judge saying that you're charged with aggravated assault, boom, boom, boom. Then having to call my girlfriend at the time, to call my parents to bail me out. So imagine your parents, your mom getting a call from your school girlfriend that her son is locked up and needs to get bailed out.
So why didn't you call your parents directly?
I needed a buffer. I needed a buffer, yo. I needed
Yeah.
a buffer. I knew it would have been too much explaining to even
Yeah.
get to the bail part.
Right.
So, and I didn't want that to be the jail call because you need to have a real phone
Yeah.
conversation from your dorm room phone.
So when you hear that collect call from,
So long story short, it was tough. It was difficult, and it was a teaching moment when I come back. It's like I know how privileged I am because even in that circumstance, my privilege of having an aunt who went to law school at UPenn,
Yeah.
who got my lawyer knowing the judge. So by the time I'm about to go in front of the judge, he's just talking to the judge saying, "This is a good kid. He's not really in this." They just dismissed it.
Right.
It just went away. But if I'm just a regular kid from North Philadelphia, I'm probably gonna get smoked.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So those instances, that's why I hate when people talk about all this. They started from the bottom or they did it by themselves. Like, hell no,
didn't.
it's impossible.
Yeah. Right.
You're being selfish. You're not giving other people credit for pushing you and helping you to get to where you're at. So
Wow.
in that circumstance, like, that was just another learning experience. Like, yo, you got to get your stuff together. So that was the last detour that I had to take before getting my stuff right. So at that time I had like a 2.1 GPA and I finished with like a 3.2 when I finished. Then I knew I had to come back home and do
so
something.
did you stay at school or you came home for summers?
I was usually staying in Philly. I would
Yeah.
come home like for like a week or two because by then I already had my own apartment because I
Yeah.
couldn't stay on campus. So I had my own apartment. So I would go home for like a week or two, especially for like during breaks. Summer I would come home for a week or two. I'm like, yeah, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go back.
Ramen noodle life.
Oh,
Ramen noodle life. I know.
Checkers, like I live right next to a Checkers.
Oh man.
Checkers was crazy. You get $4. $4, you gonna eat like a king. You get a checker dog, a banana shake, some fries, and like a little burger for $4.14.
That's funny.
Come on, man.
You can't do that anymore.
I don't even eat nothing like that.
That's so wild. All right, so after Checkers, you live right next to Checkers. I actually stayed, when I was in school, I stayed year round. I never came home. When I came home to play in tournaments or something, it was, the year to ghost. But the reason why I didn't come down is the probation. I was academic on probation too. My first year, I went crazy. I've redshirted basketball. The toughest year of my life, I feel like, was my freshman year in college. That's why I asked you about freshman year. And the time management, you have people from all over the place. Just, you mix in the little spirits and party.
It's bizarre world. You got a bunch of 18-year-olds with their own place.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's bananas. But, so I faced that adversity at an early time in college. That's why. So we'll fast forward a little bit. Now, did you go in with a major?
Yeah, so I wanted to be an attorney. So I thought I had to, because nobody told me any better, I thought I had to take like a legal studies class. And I know when I could have took any major, like history. So I started off in business, school of business, but then I was on academic probation. So I ended up switching to College of Liberal Arts. So history was my major, and then business was just my minor.
Right.
So that's how I finished.
So you finished, okay. So, but if you was advised, I wouldn't say properly or correctly, but if you was advised going into school, because I went in for sports management because it had sports in front of me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be an agent. I'm going to be a sports agent.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the route I have to go
Yep.
to be a sports agent. That's not it. No, that's my
Yep.
major. I graduated. I love it.
Yep.
That wasn't it for
That was
me.
the route? Yeah.
That wasn't it.
Yep.
I said, sport. When I said, all right, ticket sales, and all, I'm like, no. I'm
You said I got to
playing
do
now.
math? Like, no, I ain't trying to do
What?
math right now.
I had to do 7 math classes. I'm like, no. That's
Yeah.
not it for me.
Yeah.
For me, I'm about to go play overseas.
I'm about to go get some cash. I'm not doing.
Yes.
So if I could have done it over, I would have did education because my school had a 5-year master's program.
Ooh.
So I could have did 5 years, finished with my master's in education, and then taught for a year or two in Philly, and they would have paid for all my loans. That would have been the smartest route for me. But it ain't about smart. It's about, you got to live and learn.
Well, that's also if somebody went that route
Yeah.
and spit that knowledge to you, you would have had an idea. You still would have did what you needed to do, but you would have had a better understanding. This is the route you need to take. So you graduated Temple.
Yeah.
That was a proud moment, I'm sure, for your parents and your
Absolutely.
family, and you as well, because you
Absolutely.
faced that in an early age.
Same.
So now talk about Northeastern, and then we'll go into BU.
So BU was first. So I did BU, I moved back to Boston in July. Graduated in May, moved back in July, started working in August.
What'd you do for those months that you
Enjoyed Philadelphia in the
Okay.
summer. That's what I did. So came back in August. Came back in July. Started working in August. And then I literally got right to work. And this at that time in Boston, it was like that uptick in youth violence and like a lot of homicides with youth. So started working right away, doing like on the ground outreach with that youth population. So trying to get kids who were gang involved out of that life. So I did that immediately. Like in the span of 2 years, I think I had 48 funerals I went to for kids that I was working with.
Wow.
Burnt out to the point where I didn't want to do this job no more. Like I didn't want to do it. Like it's just too much.
Get a relationship with
them.
Yeah.
You felt like a failure every time a kid died or went to jail. You're saying you took it on so personally. So from then, and like around 07, 08, I figured I got to do things differently. That's when I recognized that I was sitting down with academics all the time,
Right.
giving them content because these dudes didn't know nothing about the streets. So I'm giving them content. They're putting it in dissertations, theses, whatever they're using it for, and they're getting degrees, they're getting funded. I'm like, I'm helping these. So I might as well be the one, because I actually got the content, so why not me be the academic? So that was my first push to go back to school and get my master's in urban affairs, which is basically urban policy.
Now, you started a program. When does that program started that correct me if I'm wrong, is the program you brought everybody together from different schools. So talk a little bit about that and what that means to you, being a founder of a program.
So for me, I wanted to bring more opportunities for kids coming from where we come from who don't have access to those networks. And I wanted them to be able to talk to folks from their from where they grew up about their college experience.
Yes.
So if you knew somebody that was interested in going into Temple, who better for them to talk to than me, right? But we have friends that go to all these other schools, whether it be Hamptons, Spelman's. Why not bring all those folks under one roof so we can be a resource for kids instead of them having to strictly go to the school to find that sort of content? So that was really my goal, because I didn't really know college was going to be a thing for me until I went to a college campus and saw folks who looked just like me.
Right.
That's when I knew it was possible. Like, I can really go here because this dude got a chain on and he's walking from class to class. Like, we have this perception of what a college student looks like. No, you look like a college student. You just have to get you on the campus. So that was my sort of impetus around creating my program.
And tell me what's the program called?
Boston Black Alumni Consortium.
Dope.
And the idea is that, unfortunately, we divide ourselves by what school we went to versus saying if you went to any school, you have some insight that you can give to the next generation.
Yes.
And how do we pool those resources together to be a resource for every kid so they can have access?
And I feel like a lot of people give insight, but they don't know really. So what better insight is people that are actually in those schools or go to school and to give back to the youth? Because in our generation, we were getting advice from people on the corners, or just the old heads that was walking around say, "Hey, nephew," he was everyone's nephew.
Everybody uncle, everybody's nephew.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you get that advice from your father's friends, or your mother's friends, but they didn't necessarily go to school.
Like my parents couldn't go to college. My aunt was already living in D.C. at the time, so I couldn't really talk to her. I should give a big shout out to my man. I'm not gonna say his name because he's in a legal situation, but this is a guy from my neighborhood. He was the first one from my neighborhood to go to college.
Yeah.
Mind you, he was He was a dope boy for real.
Yeah.
But he was a little bit older than me, so he
Right.
got about 2 years, 3 years on me. He used to be on the block with his backpack.
Wow.
So when he went away to college, it was like, wait, he's actually in college. It just seemed so accessible. Like, yo, okay,
Yeah.
college is a real thing.
So he broke that stereotype.
He broke
Yeah.
the stereotype. Then another one of my guys, Anaje, I will say his name because my brother, Dr. Anaje Woodbine, again from my neighborhood, went to Yale.
Yale, Ivy League.
Ivy League,
Yeah.
went to Yale, was on academic and ball scholarship, played ball for 2 years, and stopped playing ball and just did full academics, and now he's a doctor now.
Wow.
Like, it's crazy. So I knew I wanted to replicate what they meant for me for other kids.
Yeah.
So that was the idea.
That's dope. And it's good, like I said, the program and you being a founder of that and being the first to do something is just amazing on its own. So I want to applaud you. I don't want to mess up our sound, but I'll give you one of them golf claps, brother.
There you go, golf clap.
Golf claps.
Yep.
So now we're out of Temple.
Mm-hmm.
You founded the program. We didn't say, established,
Mm-hmm.
a timeline. So talk about your master's, and then we'll go into the doctor. Because the doctor, that's a lot of schooling.
Bro, I did from 2009 to 19, I was either in school or studying for school. So for about a decade, I was doing school related stuff.
Constantly learning.
Yeah. But recognizing like, academia was gonna be my route to monetize, be able to make a life for myself and my family.
You're right.
Because I saw it, there was a gap there. There's always been a gap of folks coming from where we come from, being at those tables as thought leaders.
Right.
But then having the credentials to back it up.
Yeah.
We live in a city and state that's heavily based on your credentials and what letters
Absolutely.
are behind your name. So you can have all the insight, but if you don't have that sort of credentials behind it, folks are only going to take it so far.
And I always say, you have experience and then you have paper. Now, the paper outweighs the experience on some spots.
In some spots.
So
yeah.
if you have, for example, we'll talk education. If you work in the school system, right, and you have a young professional just coming in and they have their master's degree, they're instantly going to make more than some of those people that has their experience, 5 years in experience, just based off the paper.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not true in all cases, but we want to have those letters in front of your name or behind your name or whatever the case may be. You want the paper, but it's not always fair.
Agreed. I totally agree.
The world is not fair.
But that's going to be my point. We have to recognize we don't live in a fair system.
Yeah.
Like, we don't live in a meritocracy where it's about it ain't about that most of the time. So I recognize that, recognizing that the game is fixed, how do you best position yourself to not get jam scammed the most?
It's that preparation.
I'm not trying to get jam scammed the most, cuz.
He said, shout out to 94.5.
Nah,
Jam
we ain't giving
Scam.
nobody a shout out. Let's they pay us, man. But I only say that to say that I knew that was gonna be my route. So if it's gonna be my route, I'm gonna go to the fullest extent to make sure that whenever I get to these tables or in these rooms or I'm viewed as not only a content expert, but a policy expert, and I got the sort of, like you said, the paper behind me to back it up.
There's nothing worse than having you ask for the seat at the table, and when you get the seat at the table, you don't know what you're speaking about, or people looking at you like, how did this kid get here? But then when you back it up with the knowledge and say, this is why I'm here, that's instant gratification.
Yeah,
right there.
and again, you don't. What I try to explain to folks who, like, I didn't do it solely for my own personal benefit. I did it so other kids can know that they can do it, yo.
Right.
It's so crazy how many folks hit me up talking about, they've been thinking about going back to school since I sort of made the announcement that I finished. Like, that's been the best thing. And I'm not saying school's for everybody, but I always say, don't say it's not for you unless you tried it.
Right.
That's my big thing. I hate when people say, college ain't for everybody, but they never tried it. At least try it before you say this ain't for you. And for those folks who say that it ain't for everybody, I guarantee you that they don't tell their kids that.
So I was going, right out of high school, I was going into the military. I wanted to go Marines. For whatever reason, I felt...
So you got your Marine hat on.
You know what? I like the way it looks on my head. So I was going into the military, right? I liked the brotherhood, the camaraderie. I liked all of that. Being able to say, this is my brother from a different part of the country, I liked it. You know, for whatever reason. Because, you know, my family's a little dysfunctional, like the rest of us, you know, a little dysfunctional. But I like that part of it. That was the draw for me. It wasn't shooting people up or running, and I like running in cadence and yelling hoo-ha. I like all that stuff. Like you watch all the movies, you know, I like that. That's the sound of the man. Get back. You know, I like working on the chain. I liked all that.
Yeah.
So, you messed up my train of thought. I was sitting there talking about cadences.
Yeah.
But out of high school, that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
My grandmother said, you know what? Just try college. You know, you don't need the military. What happens if you die? Then you can't try anything after that. So it started hitting me like.
Shout out to Nana.
Yeah, shout out to Nana. Everybody was pushing me and said, listen, just go 1 year because you're already getting a scholarship to go to school. So go there, at least play or you know, experience college.
It, yeah.
So I go there, 9/11 happened. Boom. There was no reconsidering anything.
Yeah.
It's like you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're not going to Afghanistan, fam.
No, you're not going
You're
over
not
there.
doing that.
And if you do, you might not come back. You know what I mean? There's people that don't come back, and you know, it's unfortunate because you're going for a reason.
Yeah.
But my grandma was like, that their reason is not yours. You're going to be the first in our generation to graduate and actually go to college. So that's an honor on its own.
Absolutely.
So I had an obligation to go that route.
Agreed.
Is what I'm saying. You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's good that, you know, we have people in the hood or in our family that can tell us certain things and keep us on that train track to success.
Facts.
Because they have success in their mind for us. You know, we have it in our own mind. They have it for them. So talk about law and policy. What made you pick that as your doctorate in law and policy?
So it's sort of similar
Did
to
my homework a little bit.
I see you did your
know.
Googles, yo. You did a nice Google search. I see what you did.
Technology, you know,
Listen,
I use that. 1982, baby. We didn't have all the Google.
Shout out to 82. That's a great year, man. So, sort of similar to why I did urban affairs. I knew policy and policy development was going to be sort of that's sort of going to be my lane. And if it was going to be my lane, I might as well shoot every shot. Mamba mentality, you know what I'm saying? Why not go all the way? So crazy part, they have been sending me sort of brochures about the program for about a year or two. Then one day I was like, let me just look into it, see what they're talking about. It was a perfect match for me. It was difficult. It was probably it was the most difficult academic endeavor I ever been on. Just simply writing so much, and also like still dealing with those feelings of like, yo, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Which is that sort of the little voice in the back of your head that oftentimes stops you from taking advantage of opportunities. So I had to get through that part.
Afraid of success.
Yeah. Well, even now, just still questioning whether or not that you have the capacity or that you belong. That whole sort of imposter syndrome. Like, am I fake? Am I a phony? So having to get through that part, writing about a subject that you're not sure people are even concerned about. But yeah, it was the best going through. It was tough as hell. There were times I thought I wasn't gonna finish. Yeah. Times I wanted to quit. Like, man, forget all this, man. But kept pushing, yo.
But you made it.
Kept pushing. Finished in December, right before the world cracked open, and it's been about almost close to a year since I've been done. It's like, it's just gone by so fast, and I still, when I hear it, it still feels weird. Like, yo, that he talking about me, but yeah, he talking about me. So it's been dope, bro. It's definitely been dope.
Man, that's a great accomplishment, and there's a lot of people that, you know, we come from a world of, I feel like, crabs in a barrel.
But I hate that analogy because we talk about crabs being in the barrel, but never talk about how they got to the barrel.
Right, you know, get in there.
What puts crabs in an unnatural environment where they're trying to pull themselves out? Yeah. And I feel like the analogy makes sense for a lot of our circumstance, but we don't have the next conversation about, okay, what in the built environment caused people to act like this? Right. Why do folks who live in some of our environments feel like they would rather sacrifice somebody else from being successful versus trying to push them up, because we feel like success is so finite that if there's only one piece for one person versus saying that there's opportunity for everybody.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like how do we start having those conversations about, as people, how do we treat each other better? Like, just genuinely saying that we don't gotta be best friends, but as long as you're not trying to harm me, I'm not trying to harm you. Can that be the basis of our interactions? You know what I'm saying? Like, can we just get to that point? Because I don't like everybody, but I'm not trying to do no harm to nobody. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people I don't like, but I ain't giving them none of my energy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. That negative energy, it manifests. I believe in that. It really manifests, and you're going to bring in, what you don't want instead of bringing in what you need in your life. So I appreciate you checking me on the analogy.
I ain't checking you, bro.
It's all good, brother. But, so I always feel that when people get a certain level in their mind of success, they don't have that hand to reach down to pull them up. And with the fisherman's grab, not just the handshake, the fisherman's, you grab that forearm.
Yeah, you make sure you pull them
that
up.
way, if you let go, I still got you.
There you go.
So there's a lot of people that don't do that. So I appreciate you coming on the show and giving insight to where you came from and where you have been and where you're going to go. Because for me, last time I seen you was probably, 2 years ago. Something at an event we went to. I can't even remember what it was. It was running around Roxbury. 2 mile or 3 mile run.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it was for.
It was,
So the adversity, and before we close up, I want to talk a little bit about the adversity, because I can't not bring this up because you do have credentials as doctor and you got that level of success. So as far as city council and the politics of it, talk a little bit about that, because I know a lot of people, and that's why the show is underrated success. Not that you're underrated, but a lot of things haven't been spoken about. So talk about the race and city council.
So my whole, again, sort of a similar theme, my whole reason for even jumping into politics was feeling like there weren't people in those positions who could speak to our experiences, who cared about us, who fought for us, and had our sort of policy needs and agenda items as top priorities for them. So I said, I might as well jump in. And I say it jokingly, but I mean it. Like, I got no problem being the sacrificial lamb for the folks who came after me.
Right.
Because there were a lot of great folks who jumped in to run for office after they saw that a kid from their neighborhood could do it too. So ran for city council for District 7, which was Roxbury. There was 13 candidates.
My mother voted.
Shout out to Mom Dukes, man.
Yep, shout out to Mom.
There were 13 candidates.
I didn't say it was for you.
That's cool. I'm
just
glad she voted.
No, she voted for you.
I'm glad she voted.
Because she see the billboards, and I think she seen her speaking at it. She used to come to the games, but she definitely voted, and I was like, Ma, she was like, isn't this your friend right here?
Shout out to Mom.
Yeah.
But like, so it was, so I got through the primary, so I was one of the final two, lost in the general election. But we had a good fight, you know what I'm saying? We got outspent 4-1, but there's no excuses. We did everything we could. We knocked on every door. But again, it was at the time I felt like how my neighborhood let me down.
Yeah.
I felt like that because I'm the person that most of the time folks will call me for everything.
Right.
Whether there's something wrong with their grandmother, trying to find a school for their son. There was something, like, I was always the go-to person. I felt like then folks should recognize that that's really the role of your city councilor. So if you already feel comfortable enough calling me when I'm just a regular guy in the streets,
right,
you should feel even more comfortable saying that, okay, we already built the relationship with him. He's been in constituent services for the last 12 years, so this is just making it official.
Absolutely.
But so when that didn't happen, I took it personal. Then I recognized, like, that was. I was hurt, but it was more ego hurt than hurt. You know what I'm saying? Then I started recognizing, which even when I say it today, it's like it worked out exactly the way it was supposed to work out, bro. Like I'm in a position now, working in City Hall, working as the director of public safety, where I have more flexibility, and I'm able to do different things. And who knows if I won the race, if those times when it was tough. I thought about stopping school, if I would have stopped or not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm already a councilman, I might have been like, well, I'm already a councilman. I don't need to be a doctor councilman.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I might have would have stopped pushing because I already felt like I got some semblance of success. But losing maybe buckle down even more. Like, no, I gotta make this happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it was tough, yo. It was tough for me feeling like, yo, something that you think is gonna happen, or you feel like you were preparing for when it doesn't happen, but then you recognize sitting down 3 years later that it worked out exactly what it was supposed to.
It's dope, man. Well, Rufus, man, I want to appreciate you from the bottom of my heart.
Appreciate
as
you,
corny as that sounds, I appreciate it because it is with the busy schedule. It's on a Sunday. You taking the time out to come over here and be on the
course,
show,
man.
and I really appreciate it. Even though you don't see success, it doesn't mean that it does not exist. You know, you might not see people for a little bit of time, but that doesn't mean they're not successful. You know, and everybody has their own mind of what success really is. And in my mind, you're more than successful, brother. And I've seen you, even though you had your own entrepreneurship, you had your Fam Jewels shirts,
Yep.
you know, doing your thing.
Yep.
I never got one,
Damn.
but you know what? We're gonna make sure you get an
Bring it up
underrated
on-
success shirt.
There you go. Make sure I get a shirt. And we gotta make sure we give a big shout out to our brother who connected us, who's no longer here. Our brother Antoine Key,
Absolutely.
who was the bridge between you and I, connecting and meeting. No longer here with us, but he's with us in this moment. He's happy that we're having this moment
Hey,
right
definitely.
now.
I can see him dancing and moving shoulders. Yeah, for sure. But it's another episode of Underrated Success. I'm your host, PJ Young. We got Rufus, Dr. Rufus.
J Faulk, don't forget the J.
Don't forget the doctor either.
Underrated success. Underrated success.